All right, I'm going to finish the 11.5 notes. And so I left off with this problem, which has to deal with the titanium. So we have a 35% mixture and then a 64% mixture. And so what we're going to do is we are going to set up this table. And this is one of those ones that's going to come out to a decimal. And it does say right here to round to 2 decimal places. So I've already set up my chart. I don't know how much of the 35%. I don't know how much of the 64%, but I do know I want to make 52 pounds of the mixture of a 38% mixture. So then I drop the percent signs and I fill in the percents. And then remember that I'm multiplying each of these to get that last column. And so now my equations are going to come from this column and this column. So x plus y has to equal 52, and then 35x plus 64y is going to equal 1976. So now I'm going to eliminate the x by multiplying by negative 35. So we get negative 35x, negative 35y, and that equals negative 1820. And so these are going to be the two equations that I'm going to add up. And the x's will cancel because that makes 0. And then I get 64 minus 35, which is 29y. 1976 minus 1820 is 156. Divide by 29, and so you will get y equals 5.38 because it comes out to be 5.379. That 9 will round up to an 8. And then we will find x by taking that 5.38 and subtracting it from 52. And so x is going to be 46.62 pounds. Okay, so you'll have to make sure that you put those in. That's the 35% titanium, and this is the 64% titanium. Now, we left off with this last one, but this one is more like the typical ones that you'll see where the wording is a little bit better in these examples. So in this example, what I'm going to say here is that we have two accounts. One is 11% account. So I'm just going to say X is the amount at 11%. Y is the amount at 13%, okay? And so we have to be careful because it says Y, she has $200 more in the 13% account. So the 13% account was Y, and so she has $200 more than what she has in the other account. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. We're going to set up the next equation that has to deal with the percentages, okay? So we're going to make sure 11% is written as 0.11x, 13% is 0.13 y, and that has to equal the interest. So we're going to use substitution. So anywhere I see y in the second equation, I'm going to replace it with the 200 plus x. So now we get 0.11x plus 0.13 times 200 plus x is equal to 50. So 0.11x plus 26 plus 0.13x is equal to 50. Collect your like terms to make 0.24x plus 26. Subtract so that you get 0.24x is equal to 24, and that says that she has $100 in the 11% account. And so then we can figure out that she has $200 more, or $300 in the 13% account. Okay, so make sure you understand when you use substitution and when you are to use elimination when it is the easiest. Okay, for this next one, I want you to make sure that you know 9% as a decimal is 0.09 and 5% as a decimal is 0.05. If you use 0.9, that's 90%. If you use 0.5, that's 50%. That's going to be too much, okay? So we've got our accounts. I'm going to let X be the amount at 9%. I'm going to let Y be the amount at 5. And we know that those two amounts have to add up to the total amount that she invested, okay? Now, the next part is a little bit tricky because it says the amount that she invested at 9% exceeds the interest amount that she earned at the 5% account, okay? So the way that we're going to write that equation is like this. The amount at the 9% account is going to be the 5% amount plus, because exceeds, plus $720.78. Remember, the interest always goes with the percent as a decimal, okay? So now you could use substitution, or you could set up your equation and make it so that you could use elimination. I think that's the easiest way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 0.05y from both sides. And so now I get 0.09x minus 0.05y is equal to $720.78. And then I can multiply this by negative 0.05 so that I get, actually, that should be a positive 0.05. So let's just make that a positive. So that would make this a positive. And 0.05y is equal to, and that comes out to be 1343.80. So now these are the two equations that I'm going to add up. So I get 0.14x, that cancels, equals, and I get 2,064.58. So I'm going to divide $2,064.58 by 0.14. So let's come up here. 0.14x is equal to 2,064.58. Divide by 0.14. And so the amount at 9% comes out to be $14,747. And so now we're going to figure out what the amount at the 9% is. And so the easiest thing to do would be take 14,747 plus y equal to 26,876. And so the amount at 9% is going, or I'm sorry, 5%, excuse me, is going to be $12,129. Okay? All right, so let's go down to this next one. So this one, we've got a total amount that's invested, very similar to that last problem. So we're going to have X at 5%, and Y is the amount at 13%. And we know that the total amount invested was equal to $6,000. Now the interest, 0.05x for 5% plus 0.13y has to add up to the interest earned. So I'm going to multiply by negative 0.05. And so that gives me negative 0.05x minus 0.05y is equal to negative 300. So I'm going to add up these two equations. And that gives me the following. So the x's cancel, and then I get 0.08y is equal to 430 divide by 0.08. And so y comes out to be 5,375. And so then x plus 5,375 has to equal $6,000. And so x comes out to be 625. Now, on this last one, or these last two, I should say, I think these are the last two, this next one is a little bit differently worded because this one says half of the investments is in the 6% dividend and half is in the 14%. So we're going to say let x be the amount at the 6%. And we're going to say y be the amount at the 14%. And because I have half in one account and half in the other, that means the amounts of those two accounts are going to be equal, okay? So that's going to be the first equation. Then I factor in the interest, or the percent, 0.06x, plus 0.14y has to equal the interest earned. And so I'm going to use substitution. So anytime I see x, I'm going to replace it with y. So 0.06y plus 0.14y is equal to 500. So then that gives me 0.20y equals 500. And so y comes out to be 2,500, which means that Peter has 2,500 in the 14% account, which is the same as what he has in the 6% account. Oh, we got two more. All right. This one is dealing with shares because this one has shares. We're talking about price of shares, and then we have a total cost of the shares. So again, just like those coin problems, we're going to say X is the amount at the $1.25 per share cost, and Y is at the $2.75 per share cost. And we know that he bought a total of 600 shares. Now we factor in the price, 125 times X plus 275 times Y, and that's going to be the total amount that he invested, $1,387.50. And so then I would multiply that top equation by negative 1.25, and I get this. And that comes out to be negative 750. And then I will add these two equations up. And so I'm going to cancel out the x's. And this gives me 1.5y is equal to 637.50. Divide by 1.5. And so y comes out to be 425 shares at the $2.75 per share price. And so then I would substitute x plus 425 has to equal the total number of shares purchased. And so that says that x is 175 shares at the $1.25 price. Okay? All right, now this one is a little bit different because we have a loss, okay? And so a loss is obviously going to be a negative number, okay? So we're going to have this as x being the amount at the negative 3%, or the loss of 3%, and y is going to be the amount at the 5%, okay? So we know his total investments, again, total investments is going to equal 13,500. Okay. With the percentages, because it's a loss, it's going to be negative 0.03x plus 0.05y, and that's going to equal the interest or the net annual receipts of $319. So we're going to multiply this top equation by 0.03. So that gives me 0.03x plus 0.03y is equal to 405. And so I'm going to add these two equations up. And the x's cancel, and I get 0.08y is equal to 724. Divide by 0.08, and so y comes out to be $9,050. And that is at the 5%, okay? And so then if I take x plus 9,050 equal to 13,500, that says he lost 44.50 at the 3%. Okay? All right. So that finishes 11.5.